Hi, everyone. We're back with our Gospel of John study and my thoughts on John chapter 18. And I don't know where you are when you're watching this or what time of the year it is when you're watching this, but for me, this is just before Holy Week. So this is a really good passage to be studying at this time, I think. And it is all about the betrayal of Jesus. So let's get right into it. We're starting in John chapter 19. It says, after saying these things. Now, what things was he saying? He was telling them that he was praying for the future believers, remember? And he said a prayer for them that they would be united as one, even as he and the Father are one. So that's what he was saying. After saying these things, Jesus crossed the Kidron Valley with his disciples and entered a grove of olive trees. Judas the betrayer knew this place because Jesus had often gone there with his disciples. The leading priests and Pharisees had given Judas a contingent of Roman soldiers and temple guards to accompany him. So Judas didn't come by himself. He came with all of these Romans, basically. Now, with blazing torches, lanterns, and weapons, they arrived at the olive grove. Think how that must have seemed to the disciples. All of a sudden, it's not just Judas that's there, but Judas with all these Romans, and they came with weapons. It's just amazing. Because Jesus had never brandished weapons at anyone else, so. Jesus fully realized what was going to happen to him. A lot of times John is reminding us, this is just Jesus' choice. He knew exactly what was going on here. So he stepped forward to meet them. Who are you looking for? He said, like he doesn't already know, huh? Jesus, the Nazarene, they replied. I am he, Jesus said. Now, the word for I am in this translation is capital I, capital A, capital M. He's using the denotation for Yahweh, for God, to say, yes, I am Jesus the Nazarene. Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with them. As Jesus said, I am he, they all drew back and fell to the ground. Okay, he uttered the name of God, and there is power in the name. And as he said that, they kind of fell back. That must have been amazing for them, but it didn't deter them. Once more, he asked them, who are you looking for? And again, they replied, Jesus, the Nazarene. I told you, I am he, Jesus said. And again, capital I am. And since I am the one you want, let these others go. He did this to fulfill his own statement. I did not lose a single one of those you have given me. Okay, when Jesus got arrested, he did not lose any of the disciples. They did not get arrested with him. They were necessary. It was necessary for them to remain free so that they could then witness the resurrection, witness the ascension, and of course, band together, unite together to start the early church. So if they'd have been in jail, that wouldn't have happened. So that's why he said that. Then Simon Peter drew a sword and slashed off the right ear of Malchus, the high priest's slave. But Jesus said to Peter, put your sword back into its sheath. Shall I not drink from the cup of suffering the Father has given me? He's trying to tell Peter, you're fighting an earthly battle. I'm fighting a spiritual battle. I'm going to die. This is the way the Father has planned it. I'm going to die for the people. Cutting off someone's ear is not going to solve anything or change anything. It's got to be done this way. This is verse 12 now. So the soldiers, their commanding officer, and the temple guards arrested Jesus and tied him up.
First they took him to Annas, since he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest at that time. Caiaphas was the one who had told the other Jewish leaders, it's better that one man should die for the people. Remember we had that earlier, that even though he was not believing in Jesus, he still prophesied. Simon Peter followed Jesus, as did another of the disciples. That other disciple was acquainted with the high priest, so he was allowed to enter the high priest's courtyard with Jesus. Peter had to stay outside the gate. Then the disciple who knew the high priest spoke to the woman watching at the gate, and she let Peter in. The woman asked Peter, "You're not one of those man's disciples, are you?" "No," he said, "I am not." First betrayal. Because it was so cold, the household servants and the guards made a charcoal fire. They stood around it, warming themselves, and Peter stood with them, warming himself. Inside, the high priest began asking Jesus about his followers and what he had been teaching them. And Jesus replied, "Everyone knows what I teach. I have preached regularly in the synagogues and the temple where people gather. I've not spoken in secret. Why are you asking me this question? Ask those who heard me. They know what I said." Jesus is saying there's no secret to what I've been preaching. He's told it right out in the synagogues. And then Jesus, one of the temple guards standing nearby, slapped Jesus across the face. "Is that any way to answer the high priest?" he demanded. And Jesus replied, "If I said anything wrong, you must prove it. But if I am speaking the truth, why are you beating me?" Then Annas bound Jesus and sent him to Caiaphas, the high priest. So now he's going to a second person. They can't find anything wrong because he hasn't done anything wrong, but they're going to manufacture something. Meanwhile, as Simon Peter was standing by the fire warming himself, they asked him again, "You're not one of those disciples, are you?" He denied it, saying, "No, I am not." So for the second time. One of the household slaves of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, said, "Didn't I see you out there in the olive grove with Jesus?" And again, Peter denied it, and immediately a cock crowed. I cannot imagine how he felt when he heard that. You know, Jesus' words coming true for him. And here he was, the one who was going to cut off someone's ear. I'll never leave you. You're not going to wash my feet. You know, he's brash and he's outspoken and he jumps in, you know, to fight the battles. But when push came to shove, he was afraid. All of us do things out of fear. I've done a lot of stupid things out of fear. A lot of stupid things. But I really sympathize with Peter at this point. You know, I don't think we can judge him too harshly, because which of us, under that kind of pressure, wouldn't also tell a little white lie, you know, fib a little bit to get us out of an awkward situation, to protect ourselves. I think that the slap in the face really is the ironic part, is that Jesus predicted it, you know, and that Peter didn't think that could ever happen, and it did. So, let's see, we're on verse 28. Jesus' trial before Caiaphas ended in the early hours of the morning. Now, think about it. He went there to the Garden of Gethsemane, you know, in the nighttime, so this lasted a long time. Then he was taken to the headquarters of the Roman governor. His accusers didn't go inside because it would defile them and they wouldn't be allowed to celebrate the Passover. Is this not the height of irony? Like they're so worried about defiling themselves by going into a household that's not, you know, kosher, and they don't want to. They want to be able to celebrate the Passover, but yet they're manufacturing lies about Jesus to get rid of him. So this is like, you know, not taking care of taking care of the small stuff and not worrying about the big stuff, you now the bigger issues are the things they're doing wrong to Jesus. They're more worried about not defiling themselves. So Pilate the governor went out to them and asked, "What's your charge against this man?" "We wouldn't have handed him over to you if he weren't a criminal," they said. "Then take him away and judge him by your own law," Pilate told them. "Only the Romans are permitted to execute someone," the Jewish leaders replied. And this fulfilled Jesus' prediction about the way he would die. These Jewish leaders do not want Jesus just arrested and thrown in jail. They want him executed. And they can't do it themselves. Only the Romans can do that. Then Pilate went back to his headquarters and called for Jesus to be brought to him. "Are you the king of the Jews?" he asked him. Jesus replied, "Is this your own question, or did others tell you that?" "Am I a Jew?" Pilate retorted. "Your own people and their leading priests brought you to me for trial. Why? What have you done?" And Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not an earthly kingdom. If it were, my followers would fight to keep me from being handed over to the Jewish leaders. But my kingdom is not of this world." Pilate only is going to hear that word kingdom because he says to him, "So, you are a king?" Jesus responded, "You say I am a king. Actually, I was born and came into the world to testify to the truth. All who love the truth recognize that what I say is true." So now he's saying that the people who handed him over, they don't even recognize the truth anymore. They know how to keep the Passover, but they don't know the truth of what they're doing. They don't understand. They've seen Jesus, they've listened to his teaching, they've watched his miracles, but somehow they have just been able to turn that off and reject that. Well, Pilate isn't in that position. He is a Jew. Or he is not a Jew, he's a Roman. So he doesn't really understand what Jesus is talking about when he says, "All who love the truth recognize that what I say is true." "What is truth?" Pilate asked. So, he's pretty cynical at this point because of his position, because of his background, I don't know. But then he went out again to the people and told them, "He is not guilty of any crime. But you have a custom of asking me to release one prisoner each year at Passover. Would you like me to release this King of Jews?" But they shouted back, "No, not this man. We want Barabbas." And Barabbas was a revolutionary. Obviously, there were people in this crowd stirring them up, rabble-rousers, getting everybody all stirred up. Wasn't it just a day or two ago that they were laying down palm branches and praising him and saying, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord"? And now they've turned. Crowds are like that, aren't they? They kind of turn like that. This is tough stuff to listen to, isn't it? The betrayals, the slap in the face, the questioning, the idea that they would rather have this common criminal who was a revolutionary, a person that was trying to overthrow the government. They'd rather have him than have Jesus. That kind of rejection. These are the things Jesus went through for us. For us. It's really difficult to even imagine it, really. If you're a person that loves Jesus, you can't imagine everybody turning on him this way. But he has said earlier, he told the disciples, everybody's going to turn away from me, but God the Father will be still with me. Because this is the Father's plan. So Pilate, of course, is trying to find some way out of this. Pilate, this is a note in my Bible. Pilate was cynical. He thought that all truth was relative. To many government officials, truth was whatever the majority of the people agreed with or whatever helped advance their personal power or political goals. We see the same thing today. If we refuse to accept any standard of truth, we have no basis for claiming something to be morally right or wrong. Many people today have rejected the idea of objective truth, so every truth claim is revamped or criticized as a narrative, a spin, or as an agenda. You know, Pilate just, he doesn't, he's a cynic, and he's been in this position for so long. He said, what's truth? I don't know what that is, you know. Truth is all relative, you know. But for Jesus, and for people that believe in Jesus, the truth is not relative. The truth is Jesus and his teachings. And Pilate doesn't get it. Barabbas, on the other hand, was a rebel against Rome. There's a note about him in my Bible, too, and it says, although he committed murder, he was probably a hero among the Jews. The Jews hated being governed by Rome and paying taxes to that despised government. Barabbas, who had led a rebellion and failed, was released instead of Jesus, the only one who could truly help Israel. Jesus is stuck now. Pilate's tried to figure out a different way to get him out of this, and he goes on and does more in chapter 19. It says, Pilate had Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip. The soldiers wove a crown of thorns and placed it on his head, and they put a purple robe on him. Hail, King of the Jews, they mocked, and they slapped him across the face. And people went outside again. Pilate went outside again and said to the people, I'm going to bring him out to you now, but understand clearly that I find him not guilty. Then Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said, look, here's the man. And when they saw him, the leading priests and temple guards began shouting, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him. I try to picture this. I know I've seen movies that picture this, you know, I'm sure you have too, but when I picture the humiliation of Jesus, the true king, this purple robe, slapped in the face, crown of thorns, pushed out in front of the people and say, here he is, your King of the Jews. And what do the people say? Execute him, get rid of him, crucify him. We don't want him. We don't want him as our king. Rejected. Rejected. Big time. This is sad stuff. But John recorded it for us so that we could remember it and understand everything that God wanted Jesus to go through for me and for you. That's what I get out of this. It's just this sinking feeling that he did this for me. He did this for you. He did this for all who believed in him then and all who would believe because of the message of the disciples. So, in the next session, we're going to go on to John 19, and we're going to take a look at what happens at the crucifixion. Till then,